worth it.
To learn more about Heroes of Mercy, go to mercyships.org.
We expect our information in real time. US Med carries continuous glucose monitors, which provide real-time readings of blood glucose levels. US Med is an approved provider for Medicare and over 500 private insurers. So call 800-730-8405 today for a free insurance and Medicare benefits check. As easy as, that's 800-730-8405.
KCAA.
You're listening to The Rick Smith Show on KCAA. We'll be right back after this message from our sponsor, Teamsters 1932, a strong union with 14,000 members in the IE. Go to Teamsters1932.org for more information. Are you underpaid and overworked? Is a living wage and employee benefits like affordable health care more of a dream than a reality for you and your family? If so, it's time to form a union. Don't be denied the wages and benefits you deserve. Come together in a union with the power of numbers. A union is not a privilege, it's your right, and it will make a difference. Contact Teamsters Local 1932, a powerful and successful labor union in San Bernardino, by visiting Teamsters1932.org/organize to start today.
Located in the heart of San Bernardino, California, the Teamsters Local 1932 Training Center is designed to train workers for high-demand, good-paying jobs in various industries throughout the Inland Empire. If you want a pathway to a high-paying job and the respect that comes with a union contract, visit 1932trainingcenter.org to enroll today. That's 1932trainingcenter.org. Are you looking for a good union job? The Inland Empire's 14,000 members strong Teamsters Local 1932 has opened a training center to get working people trained and placed in open positions in public service clerical work and in jobs in the logistics industry. This is a new opportunity to advance your career and raise standards across the region. Visit 1932trainingcenter.org to enroll today. That's 1932trainingcenter.org.
Are you tired of CEOs telling you what to think, who to hate, and who to vote for? Well, welcome to the Rick Smith Show. We don't take orders from some boardroom, and we don't do focus groups or talking points. We don't work for them, and we never will. I'm Rick Smith, and I work for you. Join us daily at thericksmithshow.com and download the podcast and never miss a minute.
It's time for the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is the voice of the working class, Rick Smith.
And welcome, brothers, sisters, working class heroes. This is the Rick Smith Show. Thanks so much for being here today on the big program. Lots to get to, lots to talk about. Shout out to our friends at Teamsters Local 705 in Chicago. As we speak, big rally going on there. The working class fighting back against corporate greed. Senator Bernie Sanders in town at the local. Also, Teamsters President Sean O'Brien and our good friend Sarah Nelson from the Flight Attendants Union rallying the faithful. And look, bringing the reality of the message that, the last 50 years, there has been an enormous, massive redistribution of wealth in this country. From the people who actually work for a living to those folks at the very top who the hardest day's labor they do is moving money from one pocket to the other. And we have got to, in this moment especially, as we're being told, the inflation's our fault. Remember, it's your fault. Because Joe Biden gave you that $1,400 and you're spending it wrong. Evidently, this is what they're telling us. Because you now have a little bit of income, you have a little bit of, it's your fault. And what I'm seeing is price gouging. What I'm seeing is corporate America taking advantage of a situation to line their pockets. And it's about time somebody, look, I've been calling for Joe Biden. I've been calling for the administration to do more of what he did in Philadelphia the other day. Good on Bernie, good on on Teamsters President Sean O'Brien and our friend Sarah Nelson to get out there and say, look, it's time to start fighting back and start pushing to get us into November. Because look, if the narrative sticks that the Republicans keep throwing out there, that Joe Biden's causing this price gouging, causing this inflation, causing this corporate greed, Democrats are going to get shellacked. Now understand, they've been trying. They've been trying to do things on prescription drugs, trying to do things on education, on healthcare spending, on all kinds of things. And the party of no ideas, no policy, no direction, are grand old party folk. They're happy to do nothing, to allow the economy to tank, to allow prices to go through the roof, to allow wages to get eroded by inflation. They're perfectly happy because politically this benefits them. So the hope is rally the faithful, get people out to vote, and make them pay for doing nothing in these moments when people are struggling. So I just want a quick shout out there to those folks as they are heading out of that big rally. Good on you guys. So the big news today. Did you watch the hearing? Did you pay attention to the hearing? And what's been interesting through the 3 hearings thus far, we haven't heard from any partisan Democrat witnesses, have we? These have been all the very best people. These have been all of Trump's the best people. They are turning on him in a big way. Now remember, he only surrounded himself with the very best people. And these are the most conservative voices in America right now, coming out and saying, hey, look, we told him. He knew he did this on his own. It wasn't us. We were team normal. Now, there are a couple of really important lines that came out today that I think every American needs to know. And good on retired Judge J. Michael Ludig. The good judge said Donald Trump and his allies are a clear and present danger to American democracy. I heard him say that. Now, this is not some hippie liberal judge. This is a very conservative judge that a lot of these people clerked for at one point or another. And I remember during the 4 years of the former guy's term saying those exact words, that Donald Trump's a clear and present danger to our democracy. What they are doing is a clear and present danger to the future of this country. And I remember having conservatives, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're saying that about our president. He's the best thing ever. He's fabulous. He's terrific. No. He's a clear and present danger to the future of this country. And as Judge Ludig said, a stake was driven through the heart of American democracy on January 6, 2021. And our democracy today is on a knife's edge. They're not going to stop. Now, he took this opportunity, and if you watch the hearing, and I hope you did, and I hope you go back and look at it, because it was long, it was lengthy, it was. I'll be honest, it wasn't riveting TV for those who want constant action. There were no explosions, but there was a lot of sledgehammers being hit on people's heads. But in a kind of lengthy constitutional seminar kind of way. He was slow, he was methodical, he was wordy, but the bombs coming out of his mouth were enormous. He said at one point that he would have laid his body across the road before he had let Mike Pence overturn the 2020 election based on the historical precedent that they were trying to ram through. This is somebody of principle. This is somebody who believes in our Constitution. Now, he went on in a very long explanation that everyone in this country needs to know that what Trump and the very best people were doing was this, what the plan was to overturn our election, and it needs to be front and center. he was very clear. There is a clear and present danger. It is. And it's not just about 2020. It's about the future. They will attempt to overthrow and overturn the 2024 election. And I would argue they're already doing that. They're already working on that before the first ballot is cast. They're spending millions of dollars on poll workers, not the poll watchers, the poll workers. They're getting those folks in there to be hyper partisan. We've got real problems, and this, a lot of this for me goes back to John Roberts. And our Chief Justice has got a legacy problem that he's going to have to deal with, because when he said, "Oh, we're going to call balls and strikes," all of the decided law that they overturned, the Voting Rights Act, when they did away with pre-clearance and they just took a butcher knife to the Voting Rights Act, may have gone too far there, John. Now, J. Michael Ludig, the former federal judge, said that had Trump succeeded in getting getting Pence to do his dirty work and declare Trump the winner, or go along with this scheme, this would have been the first constitutional crisis since the founding of the Republic. And he's not wrong. But this is what they wanted. Now, understand, one of the things that they did lay out is Trump knew this was a far-fetched scheme. They knew that this wasn't going to happen. They knew that this wasn't going to work, but they were willing to do it anyway. They were willing to create the chaos. They were willing to put people's lives in danger. They were willing to put the state of our nation in danger for their gain. Because it's always been about Trump. It's always been about him. It's never been about us. It's never been about the working people of this country. It's never been about the future of our nation. It's never been about anything other than one guy. And we've always known that. And what's interesting, what's really interesting, is you look at all of the people who were asking preemptively for pardons. We now find out that John Eastman, the attorney for Trump, who came up with this scheme, is there a list going around of preemptive pardons? Because I'd like to get my name on that, please. We now find out that he didn't get one either, because they were never getting them. The only people I believe who got pardoned by Trump were people who had dirt on Trump. The kind of people that could have taken him down, like Roger Stone. Why are we hearing nothing about Roger Stone yet? Now, there were some interesting things that did come out as well, and I want to hear your thoughts. 1-866-416-RICK, 1-866-416-7425. If you watched the hearing today, what your thoughts were on this. But one of the things that was new to me. Now, understand, I knew Pence went down to the parking area. I knew he was kind of trapped in there. There was the story that his ID card didn't work. They wanted to push him in the car to get him out of there so that they could take him who knows where, maybe under the mountain somewhere, in Denali National Park, in Alaska, so he'd never be heard from again, so they could hatch their scheme. He refused to go. He refused to get into the car. They were 40 feet. The lynch mob was 40 feet away from him. I didn't know that it was that close. We were 40 feet away from a constitutional crisis. 40 feet away from the end of our republic. I mean, stop and think about what would have happened, because there's no question in my mind, had one of those Oath Keeper, MAGA hat wearing Nimrods gotten a hold of him, he would be swinging from those gallows. There is no question in my mind. And I don't think there was any question in any of the people who testified. Greg Jacobs, his former counsel, testified, saying, look, the vice president doesn't have the authority to reject this slate of elections. Can't do this stuff. Went on some weird kind of moment that I thought was very bizarre, that, when I guess he said he called Pence, and he said when he can't wait to go to heaven, to meet the framers, to tell them that the work that they did putting our Constitution together is genius. But there is one sentence I'd like to talk to you a little bit about. And that's the one dealing with the vice president in this situation. Just one sentence. Just one sentence there, Greg. And how do you know you're going to heaven? But this is kind of a weird kind of moment, because the left wants to make Pence some kind of hero, and I'm not there. He did his job. One of the things that Ludig brought up and that came out in the hearing is you think about from the beginning of our republic until this moment, no vice president has ever done this, and it came up. If this were possible, do you think Al Gore could have gavelled himself the ability to be president? And then why didn't it? Well, because you can't do it. And that democracy meant more than just one person. And I would argue well beyond that, we're a different country than we were in 2000. And in a completely different country. Now, the fun, Donald Trump wants equal time. He's now come out. He went out on Truth Social. He's demanding equal time, and I'm tending to agree. I want Donald Trump to have equal time, as long as it's under oath. I want him to come out and have as much time as he wants to plead his case, to tell us what he was doing, when he was doing it, how he was doing it, and the decisions that he was making. But it's got to be under oath. He's got to swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So help him, God. Hand on the Bible. In front of somebody with wearing one of those dresses, one of the robes, with the power to throw him in jail when he does lie, because this is the GOP, the gang of prevaricators. They are the lying party right now. You look at this stuff and it's amazing. Now I agree with Benny Thompson, who said, look, Trump knew it was illegal. He knew it was wrong. And we're fortunate Mike Pence had courage on January 6th to do the right thing. Liz Cheney said, Mike Pence did his duty. President Trump unequivocally did not. Now the question is, are people going to hear that? Will MAGA world hear this? Understand, all the people who have testified, either on a video deposition or sat in those chairs today or the past hearings, these have been all the best people. These were the MAGA folks. These were all the best people. These were all of Trump's folks. This is them. There are no lefties out there. There are no Democrats there. These are Trump's people turning on him. 1-866-416-RICK. 1-866-416-7425. Want to hear your thoughts. Something from today's hearing grab your attention. I want to hear it. Quick break, right back after this. If you're just joining us, make sure you grab the podcast. Never miss an episode. Share with your friends. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff. And if you're coming out of that Teamsters 705 meeting, make sure you're registered to vote, and we begin to hold those folks accountable. Good on you. Back after this. If you're a fan of the show, you've heard our labor history in 2 segments, and you can hear them on the radio pretty much anywhere in the U.S. Labor history has never been more important than it is right now. So here's what we'd like you to do. Tell a teacher. Tell a teacher that labor history is important and that they can get digestible 2-minute lessons that are absolutely free. Free to download, free to use, free to share. Tell a teacher to go to thericksmithshow.com/history and help us put labor back where it belongs, in the classroom. Generations of American workers fought, bled, and died to build the American way of life. It's our job to keep their stories alive. Go tell a teacher that we're here to help them do just that. Find us at thericksmithshow.com/history today.
Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
1-866-416-RICK. 1-866-416-7425. Let's go to line 1. We got Christopher in Chicago. Christopher, what's on your mind, brother?
How you doing, Rick?
I'm good. What's going on?
Um, I'm just listening to this show trial they got going on TV, and I just want to say nobody's going to get indicted.
You don't think so? You don't
Trump,
think asking for all the transcripts, and you don't think and no one's going to get indicted? You don't think?
No.
Okay.
Because what comes with an indictment? Cross-examination and discovery.
Okay.
So that means they got to put Nancy Pelosi under oath and all the rest of the people that have the other side of this, Ray Epps and all that stuff. So I don't think there's going to be any indictments, and D.C. is going to protect D.C. whether you're a Republican or a Democrat.
I hope you're wrong. I think there has to be some accountability here. What we're seeing is
what would
every
lead you
voice.
to believe
Hold on, Chris. Hold on. Every voice that we're seeing today, every voice that we've seen for the last 3 hearings, have been the very best people. They've been Trump's people. These are the people who are in the rooms. These are the people saying he knew what was going on. He chose a different path. There are no Democratic voices here.
I drive a truck for UPS.
Okay.
And people are worried about $5 gas in their groceries. They're not really worried about this trial. Nobody's paying attention. It's in the past. I don't want Trump to run. I love President Trump, but I don't want him to run again. He's too old. All these people in Congress are too old. We need younger people.
So do you care about the state of do you care about the rule of law and the state of democracy? Do you care about the right to vote? Would you care if Al Gore would have been able to do this in 2000? Okay, so then you should want this to happen. You should want this to happen, and you should want all of that stuff that you put there to be out in the light, and you should want that stuff to be exposed.
Okay, so we went through Russia collusion, 2 impeachment hearings, the Clintons and all their stuff. Our government is corrupt, whether it's Republican or Democrat. We got to stop saying I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat. They're all poison. They're killing the country.
Okay, all right, Chris.
All of them.
I appreciate your thought, man. Good stuff. Thanks for the call. Let's go to who do we got? We got Alice on line 3. Let's go over to Alice. How we doing, Alice? What's on your mind? You there, Alice? I guess Alice is gone. I guess she went to the restaurant. But no, I mean, this is one of these kind of moments. And look, you're going to get that kind of despair where you go, they're all corrupt. Look, we can do a couple of things at once. And this is the reality. Yeah, gas prices are high. We've got to deal with that. Inflation's high. We got to deal with that. There's a lot of problems. Absolutely. We're always going to have a lot of problems. Without question. Going to happen. But these are crimes. These are things that have to be investigated. We have looked into the Clintons upside down and backwards. We have looked into all of those allegations upside down and backwards. And just because right-wing blathering radio keeps feeding it to us like outrage candy that we have to consume doesn't mean it's still what's important in this moment. What's important right now is I got a federal judge, a conservative federal judge, saying that this guy's a clear and present danger, that our democracy was on the brink of disaster. There was a constitutional crisis at our doorstep. We were 40 feet away from hanging a vice president. That should scare every person. It's that simple. Alice, you there?
I'm here.
What's on your mind?
I was thinking during parts of the hearing today, I was thinking, a lot of us knew these things that they were going over. And again, I'm going to reiterate. I think that about 75% of us care about it. And then we have the conservative bunch who, as an earlier caller stated, they're more worried about other things. And what they don't realize is that it's all intertwined and goes hand in hand.
Yep.
But I was also happy to see today that Jenny Thomas's name was coming up a bit more. And they're thinking about inviting her to talk, I guess.
And what I love about it is she's ready for it. You go, Karen. I'm hoping she comes forward. I hope she puts her hand on the Bible too. Look, at the end of the day, I'm for transparency and accountability. I want them all to put their hand on the Bible, swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, in front of the person with the robe, and be accountable. See, this is the difference between me and my conservative friends. I want that. I welcome that. I demand that. That is our system. It's what we should all want. It's what the kind of accountability that we've desperately needed. If you're going to complain that it's just a big swamp, this is the way forward. Poo-pooing it away and saying no one's paying attention. Well, clearly I'm paying attention, and I'm hoping others are as well. Just because you're not doesn't mean not everyone is. Any final thoughts, Alice?
Yes. What I wanted to say, which would go along with what you said, was I don't care if they're Republican. I don't care if they're Democrat. I don't care if they're independent or the Communist Party. If they committed a crime, I want them held accountable.
Yep.
But you have a good evening.
Thanks, Alice. Appreciate it. And the Nancy Pelosi thing, I love when people throw her name out there. What did Nancy Pelosi do on January 6th? Oh, Nancy Pelosi didn't call the Capitol Police. What's interesting about that is not her job. And this is where the blathering class knows that we actually don't understand how the system works. It's not her purview. There is a committee in Congress that's their job. So it was somebody else's responsibility. But she's the lightning rod. She's the one that we go after. But if it would make you happy to have her under oath saying it's not my job, okay. It was the responsibility of X, Y, and Z, and then we should go after them and why that didn't happen. Because I, too, want to know, why weren't there more Capitol Police? Why wasn't the National Guard called? I want to know those things. And you should, too, Chris. I appreciate the call, buddy. Good talking with you. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, our good friend Sarah Burris is going to be here to share some thoughts on the hearings and some other top stories over at Raw Story. Quick break. Right back. Stick around. You listen to The Rick Smith Show. We're working people. Come to talk. I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1918. That was the day Eugene V. Debs, leader of the Socialist Party, gave his legendary anti-war speech in Canton, Ohio. The speech, for which he would eventually be arrested, tried, and convicted under the Espionage Act. Though he avoided explicitly criticizing World War I or President Wilson, he made clear his views. He gave the speech at a park near the jail where Charles Baker, Charles Rutenberg, and Alfred Wagenacht, three prominent socialists, were being held on Espionage Act-related charges. Debs noted, quote, "It is extremely dangerous to exercise the constitutional right of free speech in a country fighting to make democracy safe in the world." Debs was defiant. He unloaded his rage against the judicial system and the conviction of socialist leader Kate Richards O'Hare for her anti-war views. He railed against the suppression of Max Eastman's socialist press and the ongoing persecution of socialists Tom Mooney and William Billings. Debs briefly reviewed the history of wars in Europe and made the following observation, saying, quote, "The master class has always taught and trained you to believe it is your patriotic duty to go to war and to have yourselves slaughtered at their command. But in all the history of the world, you, the people, have never had a voice in declaring war. The working class, who fight all the battles, the working class, who make the supreme sacrifices, the working class, who freely shed their blood and furnish the corpses, have never yet had a voice in declaring war or making peace." For this, he was convicted of advocating disloyalty and draft resistance and sentenced to 10 years in prison. For more information, go to laborhistoryin2.com, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at laborhistoryin2.
It's over. Biden's numbers are in the ditch. Democrats are doomed. Call the priest. These are Democrats talking. Even before November's congressional elections are run, many conventional-thinking Democratic operatives are surrendering to a presumed Republican sweep. You don't need a political science degree to know that if you start out announcing that you'll lose, chances are you will. After all, who wants to vote for a party that shows no fighting spirit, no confidence in the appeal of its own ideas? What's happening here is that the party's top leaders have decided their candidates can't win in rural areas and smaller factory cities, so they've quit trying. Worse, they blame the voters, claiming that Trumpism, Fox News BS, and culture war nonsense have poisoned the minds of people, quote, out there. Thus, party leaders have retreated from the countryside to focus entirely on big urban areas. Democratic congressional leaders even killed their rural outreach programs, and the party's chairman in 2018 meekly declared, "You can't door knock in rural America." Actually, sir, you can. And if you choose to abandon this working class constituency, surprise, it will abandon you. Worse than failing to campaign along America's dirt roads and factory streets, National Democrats have actively been pushing corporate policies that have ravaged families living there, including trade scams sucking out union jobs, shamefully bailing out Wall Street bankers who crashed our real economy while ignoring millions of devastated workaday people, and doing nothing about the corporate-caused farm depression still ripping across our land. Washington Democrats have largely betrayed this vital constituency. This is Jim Hightower saying, did party poobahs think voters wouldn't notice or care how they're being treated? If we want them back on our side, then let's go to them and get back on their side.
Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Check out our website, thericksmithshow.com. Jenny Thomas, wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, has come out and said that, hey, she's going to agree to testify. She's going to be interviewed, not testify. She said she actually can't wait to clear up misconceptions. She's looking forward to talking to the January 6th committee. Are you buying that? Do you believe that? Do you think that's going to really happen? Do you think the wife of a Supreme Court justice is dumb enough to go under oath in front of a congressional committee? Do you think she's really that stupid? Oh boy, wouldn't that be? I'm all in favor of it. Cannot wait. Anyway, here to share some thoughts on Janae and all of that, our good friend Sarah Burris, reporter over at Raw Story, rawstory.com, the website. Sarah, thanks for taking time for us.
Hey, happy Thursday. Happy third hearing day.
So what do you make of Jenny and her, I can't wait to clear up the misconceptions.
She's so full of crap. There's no way. I mean, if I was her lawyer or her husband, there's no way that I would let her appear in front of the committee unless it wasn't under oath, right? And I would say too, the other piece of this is I get that everybody wants to hear from Jenny Thomas. I want to hear from Clarence Thomas. I want to be able to ask him, who did you talk to? Did John Eastman talk to you? Is there truth to this rumor that you were screaming, that you and Roberts were screaming back and forth at each other? And who else would have known about that? Because that could have come from Jenny Thomas. There's a lot of stuff that I think we should learn, about what Thomas knew, particularly before that vote on the case of whether to turn over, documents or not.
Yeah, I mean, is it maybe Jenny Thomas is going to be the new Yoko, one that breaks up the Supreme Court.
Oh my God, that would be so funny. That's the thing though, is of all the people on the Supreme Court who have such an obvious conflict of interest, and I don't understand why John Roberts is not stepping in here. If he's supposed to be the Chief Justice who, presides over this thing, does that not mean that he has any kind of authority to be like, why don't you sit this one out, bro?
Yeah, no, it's very bizarre. Now I'm looking at this, and one of the things that I've recently found out that I didn't know before, and it's probably my fault for not knowing, is that Jenny Thomas was I guess in a cult before. Is this accurate? And that went through some deprogramming. So this really explain a lot about the hyper Tea Party stuff, the Q stuff. There's a lot explained here.
So it's super interesting. It's a cult that's one of those kind of self-embetterment or embettering things where it's like, oh, I'm gonna go to these seminars and stuff, and it's going to teach me how to be, more confident or whatever. But it kind of incorporated this sort of multi-level marketing scheme to it too, where it was like you go to these seminars and you learn about yourself and whatever, and then you bring somebody else in with you the next time, and the more people you bring into it, the more you rise up in the priority of people and the fame of the group or whatever.
Because nothing says self-esteem like Ponzi schemes.
Right, exactly. That's the thing, though, is it's like, if this was an organized religion, if it had a religious component to it, where it was under a specific religion, we would be calling this a cult. But it sort of skirts under the radar because it's not. And what is interesting to me is that, you're not going to get like a narcissist like Trump who's going to be a part of a cult, because their obsession is themselves. But that sort of that Donald Trump inner circle movement, the way that people have described it, the way that Michael Cohen has talked about it, is it's very cult-like. And I'm sort of fascinated by this idea of, how Trump sort of used an emotional kind of manipulation for his people to pit them against each other and then promote them publicly. It sounds sort of like the bizarre thing that Jenny Thomas is a part of. It's just more political and sanctioned by the Republican Party. So you fold the QAnon stuff in with that, and it's like, oh, this makes sense now.
Yeah, I mean, I look at Trump and you listen to some of the things that he said, and look, I've said a bunch of times, the blind squirrel found the nut, and talking about manufacturing, talking about how bad our trade policies are, and I was with him on that. The idea of reinvigorating our manufacturing base. Granted, he did nothing for 4 years, but I was there. Everything else was just throwing people under the bus. And what's interesting is watching these hearings. These are all Trump people. These are all the very best people that he surrounded himself. These are all the cultists. This is the Klan that is finally kind of coming to light. And I wonder how many people. I'm told nobody's watching these hearings, and I've been told repeatedly by the MAGA world that they don't care. But I gotta think the more you see MAGA world going, no, you've been duped. You got ripped off for $250 million. As this stuff keeps piling on, that eventually a light bulb has got to go off, and there's got to be an epiphany at some point.
I think what the light bulbs that are going off are the ones that are not necessarily right up next to Donald Trump. Those are obviously some of the people that they lost after Election Day were closer, but a lot of the people that we have seen in this, they're definitely conservative Republicans, but a lot of them are Pence people. Like today, obviously, because it was about Mike Pence, there were just all of his people. The judge had been he was like a mentor to John Eastman and to Ted Cruz, which is even more bizarre. So I think we have seen some people who are insider Trump people who probably just complied with a subpoena and maybe didn't know as much. Like it seems like Jason Miller is one of those willful idiots that was basically out of town for several weeks leading into January 6th, and he had some information, but he just ends up looking like an idiot with saying one thing on Fox News and another thing under oath. And so it's weird because these people are, I think that a bunch of them are falling, but I don't think anybody who is, living in their own little QAnon world is ever going to
important part
come
right
out
there.
of it.
You said the important part right there. They went on Fox News. They said one thing.
Yeah.
The second they put their hand on the Bible, they swore to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. They did not say what they said on Fox News. They didn't say what they said when they went to the Four Seasons Landscaping press conference. They didn't say what they said when they went to the Gettysburg Hotel to have their sham hearing there. They didn't say all of the things that they were saying on all the conservative outlets and all these fantastical claims of all of this voter fraud and all of this made-up fantasy stuff. They told the truth. And that's what MAGA world needs to hear. because they bought all the fantastical claims that they heard on blathering right-wing talk radio, and they didn't hear what was put in front of the people wearing the robes.
And that's one of the things that I've been so frustrated about, the way that they were painting Mike Pence today, because, you know, the chairman, Thompson, basically started the whole thing talking about Mike Pence's courage. Well, we learned today that Mike Pence's so-called courage didn't happen for a month after Donald Trump started probing him for this thing. So for over a month, Mike Pence knew that there was this crazy, basically the coup plot afoot, and that he was being pressured to do this thing on the 6th, and people were trying to justify it to him. And this idea that I think Mark Short, they showed some videos of Mark Short where he was like, you know, he never wavered, he stood strong. And it's like, if he never wavered, then why was he calling a whole bunch of legal people to ask them, oh crap, what do I do here?
You know, why are you asking Dan Quayle?
Right.
And I thought Chris Christie had a funny line. He was on Fox News, and they asked him what he would say on to Pence if they shared a debate stage, and he said, it looks like you're better now. Your neck was on a hinge for 4 years, and it just nodded up and down from January 20th to January 6th, as you know, 2021. So I'm glad to see you're better. And you know, that's kind of a funny line, but you know, screw Chris Christie too, because where was he?
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Is it's not just Chris Christie and all of these people who have testified. Where were they between Election Day and January 6th? But where were they during the impeachment hearings too? Because all of these people said nothing for months and months. It wasn't until Bill Barr's book came out. He went like a year between when he said something to the AP about, you know, oh, this is a legit election, to when his book came out. That's when he told everything.
And
it's
screw
like,
Bill Barr
I'm
too.
so sick of these people.
Yep.
And I think, honestly, like if we could indict Donald Trump, that would be great. But, you know, one of the things some of the members that I talked to today were saying is they want to indict everybody else who was in the circle who was enabling him.
Yeah, no, I there have to be some indictments that come out of this at some point. They're due, right?
I would hope so, right? I mean, I think there's something seriously wrong with our system if we're not indicting people just because they're in fancy suits.
Yeah, you're listening to the Rick Smith Show here with Sarah Burris, reporter at Raw Story. You got a question, comment, something on your mind? Give us a call, 1-866-416-RICK, 1-866-416-7425. Chime in with a thought. Now, Trump says he wants equal time. I am all in favor of Donald Trump getting equal time, just as long as it's under oath, as long as we gavel in. Put your hand on that book that they claim to have read and they understand and they believe in. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So help them that God they seem to love and think they say they love. And then tell the truth to him and all of us. I'm in favor of it. In fact, I would give him not just equal time, but double time. Say whatever he needs to say.
I think that would be amazing. It would be so funny. I think too, though, there's no way that his lawyers are ever going to let him do something like that. But I want the committee to call his bluff on this. Like, I think that the committee should be like, hey, we saw your note that you want to speak out and have equal time on this. Why don't you come up to the Hill? We'd love to welcome you to the committee. We'll flip on the cameras. And, you know, call his bluff on it. And if he's like, oh, you know, and tries to walk it back after that, then that's on him.
Yep.
But I say, hell yeah, give him the option.
Give him the time. And this is where I think there might be a chance of there being some indictments. As the story came out today, the Department of Justice is going, hey, we want the transcript. So am I to understand that there hasn't been any cooperation or coordination between the committee and the Department of Justice?
So not until this point. But what has happened is that the Justice Department basically sent the committee a letter yesterday. And we're like, hey, y'all, we want all your transcripts. And I think the chairman made some comment like, you know, not yet. And I wonder how much of that is like, y'all, we're in the middle of this hearing right now. Like, we got some stuff to do. Can you just hold off for a couple of minutes? Or if it's about, like, we don't want any of this stuff to leak out. What Joe Lofgren told us today, though, is, of course, we're going to give them everything. We're going to give them every box, every document, every interview, every video that we've got, and then some. So it's not – I think it's a big deal that the that the DOJ is saying, hey, we want this. That's the first step to them saying, oh, yeah, we are actually interested in this thing. So that's a good thing.
It is a good thing. Let's see how that works itself out. Let's go to the phones. We got Bob in Brookfield on line one. Bob, how are we doing tonight?
Pretty good, thank you.
You got something on your mind?
I like the show a great deal. Yeah, something I wanted to say is I would be surprised if there are going to be any indictments, and especially up at the high end where Trump is. And the reason why is this. It's because the Trumpanistas, the people who support Trump and want to live in his world, have come to realize or come to believe that democracy is what our country revolves around. Everything is democracy. It gives us our freedoms, our liberties, democracy. Well, you know what? Democracy is not giving us anything that we want. We want white supremacists. We want people of color to be lesser in value than the white people are. We want the white people to control everything, to have everything like it used to be in the old days. That's why we want to take our country back. Democracy doesn't work for us. It doesn't give us what we want. But Trump says he's going to give us everything that we want. So we don't care anything about how disgusting and vile he is, how criminal he is, how anything he is. It doesn't matter. He's going to give us what we want. And so we're going to support him, and we're going to go with him. Even though you can prove to us that he's stealing our money. So what? It's an investment in my future. That's why these people are not going to be swayed by all of this hearings. You could have Trump on a video saying anything and everything, every crime he's ever committed, and they won't care.
Yeah, but what do you say to that, Sarah? I mean, he's not wrong.
No, I think Bob is top of the perfect way of putting it. I think that you're not going to sway a lot of these folks. The thing that I think you will be able to sway is the Justice Department. And you know, we might lose Congress in 2020, but we've got the Justice Department until 2024, unless they obviously try to impeach Joe Biden. But even that, like, they're not going to make that through the Senate, right? There's no matter how many Republicans get elected in November, they're not going to be able to pass that in the Senate.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting couple of years. So you got anything else, Bob?
Well, just one other thing. When Reagan walked in the White House, the rich people, the Republicans, corporate America realized if they could do three things, that they could control the minds of the American people, and therefore they could get anything from them that they wanted. All they have to do is find the right way to approach them. And those three things are to keep people uneducated, uninformed, and living in fear. And that's what they've done. They constantly destroying the public education system. Reagan took civics out of the curriculum, so people don't even know how the government works.
Yeah, now you're
people uninformed. So they took over all of the radio stations with Fox News propaganda network on television and on radio, and keep people living in fear of each other, fear of the government, fear of the other, those people. The reason why you don't have anything that you want is because of those people of this religion, those people of this race, those people of this color. I'll save you from those people. Just vote for me.
Yep, you're right, Bob. Appreciate it, man. Great call.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much. No, look, that's the sad reality. And here in Pennsylvania, where I'm at, you're seeing the same kind of rhetoric that Bob's laid out. I mean, we've got Benito Mastriano, who's running on the same kind of line. There's no economic agenda. There's no future there. It's just, who do we hate and who do we go after?
And I think at some point you're going to have to start answering questions about the economy. Right, like this is the one thing that every pundit in the world and everybody on Fox News has been saying is, this election can't be about January 6th. It can't be about, our democracy. All of these things that we as lefties want to talk about. They want to talk about the economy. The problem is that means that Republicans also have to talk about the economy, and they have no ideas. There are no solutions on their end. It's sort of like the same thing with Obamacare. Like they're going to repeal, but there is no replacement. So I think once we get closer to the election, I have faith that some Democrats will be able to start talking about those issues in a logical way that may save their seats.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out because, you got to talk about the economy and something's got to get done. And I like the fact that Biden finally is doing something. I love the fact that you got Bernie Sanders in Chicago tonight with Sean O'Brien of the Teamsters and our friend Sarah Nelson of the flight attendants talking about, hey, there's been a massive redistribution of wealth and getting people organized and saying, look, this is what's going on and beginning to fight back. We need that desperately.
Yeah, we do. And I think all of that trickles down to even oil prices, right? Like gas is high, but you see, these corporations making so much money, and instead of investing and hiring more people to pump more oil, they're doing stock buyback. So all of it has to do with so much corporate greed.
Yeah, I mean, we're in this weird spot. I also wanted to get to a couple other things that you've got. You're listening to the Rick Smith Show here with Sarah Burris. She's a reporter over at Raw Story. Make sure you check out the work that she does there at rawstory.com. You got a piece on the Proud Boys. There is a plan. There was a plan that they had, the 1776 returns plan, full document. It kind of laid out the whole scheme there. I mean, are you as surprised as I am the amount of treason that was documented, the memos, the videos? I mean, I think they were getting ready for the full-length documentary movie.
I think they were, but I will say the thing about that document is that it is probably the most important thing that happened this week, and nobody is talking about it. This is not just a planning document that Enrique Tarrio's girlfriend handed over to him. This is a document that basically outlined what happened, down to the time. They even had like a schedule where they were going to have people, be staged and ready at 1:00, and then at 1:22 they were going to be ready to go, and by 1:30 they were, going to start the attack. And that's pretty much about the time, like within a 15-minute span of when the timeline happened. It even goes through a whole thing about how they want to block traffic with semis, which is basically what's been happening in Washington for, with the Trump truckers who came through over the COVID stuff. All of those things. I would say too that the trucker deal, their big thing about the truckers were they wanted to be able to block traffic so that police couldn't get to the Capitol.
Yeah.
Which is another thing where you're just like, oh my God, how is this not a bigger deal? This is the scariest thing I have ever read. And they were talking about being dressed in suits and pretending to be staffers and hiding in the Capitol, after doing their reconnaissance tour the day before, staying in the Capitol and hiding there so that they could be able to let people in on the afternoon of the 6th. Just like, man.
You bring up reconnaissance. Now, we saw the video and all this stuff from Barry Loudermilk, and you've got a piece with Representative Mary Gay Scanlon of Pennsylvania, who said, this is no way to run a country. And you go, yeah, it's no way to run a country to have, representatives giving reconnaissance tours art tours of hallways and stairwells. I'm still stuck on, I didn't do it. Well, maybe I did it. Well, it wasn't a big deal. It was nothing really important. Okay, well, it was kind of important. I'm just kind of in this weird spot where nobody wants to hold this guy or any of them accountable.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a weird place.
The thing that blew my mind too, and that Representative Scanlon said, is that when she observed a member giving a tour, it wasn't Loudermilk. It was another member. So there are other members out there that she basically said that, we're seen giving these same kind of tours. And what she thought whenever she saw them was, oh, this is probably a new member who just doesn't know, we're not having tours right now because of COVID. It's probably his family, yada, yada. But then after the 6th, everybody was like, oh, gee, maybe this is actually a serious thing. And so they filed, a report with the Capitol Police, and they didn't even allege that this was some kind of reconnaissance effort. They just basically said these members were hosting, tours in the Capitol when they weren't supposed to be. And the Republican Party filed an ethics complaint against them for making that claim. And it turns out we had the videos the whole time.
The whole time. No, I'm not surprised. Let's go to the phones. We got Gordon from Florida on line 1. Gordon, you got about a minute. What's on your mind, brother? Got a question for Sarah?
Very briefly, first off, Pelosi, regardless of what you think of her views or not, even though it's legal, she should have allowed the people on the commission that McCarthy wanted, because it would have turned out the same outcome. It would have given credibility. Pence was, even though I'm a conservative and love Pence, he was totally right in what he did because the Constitution prohibits him. As far as Trump goes, my mother and I are both conservatives. We think that what he did was very unwise, but not illegal. That Loudermilk character, okay, I don't like him. He doesn't support cutting subsidies. He's a tax and spend liberal. But even the D.C. police have said that what he did was not a reconnaissance mission, and I don't think it was. But I don't really like the guy. He and most of the GOP are tax and spend liberals that don't support student loan bankruptcy. They don't support cutting subsidies. They are tax and spend liberals like
Okay, is that a question?
No, I wanted to offer my opinion.
Okay.
I wanted to offer my opinion on Loudermilk. They no offense against all the drunken sailors that I'm offending, but the GOP and some Democrats are tax and spend liberal. They tax and spend like drunken sailors.
Got it. All right, thanks, Gordon. I appreciate it. No, Gordon's got an interesting point. I mean, there's the view that they didn't do anything illegal. What do you say to that? That nothing that Trump did was illegal. That this scheme wasn't illegal. That there's nothing here. Nothing to see. Move along.
So the last two hearings that we've had, the second one and this one were they had Liz Cheney basically giving speeches where she specifically cited the language that is in the statute, that is in the law that Trump broke. And so last one was something about seditious conspiracy. And that whole speech that she gave and that whole hearing was basically about that crime. Today was about basically the attempt to overthrow the government and to stop the government proceeding.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it plays out. But Sarah, I appreciate the time as always. Great stuff. Thanks so much for the time.
My pleasure. Have a good weekend.
You as well. Our good friend Sarah Burris, reporter over at Raw Story. Make sure you check out the work she does. rawstory.com. Gordon, thanks for the call. Again, if you missed any portion of the program, thericksmithshow.com. That's where you go to get the podcast. Never miss a moment.
Nearly 80 million people under heat alerts. That's a lot of hot people.
Another early extreme heat wave shatters records across the U.S. Yellowstone National Park closed due to catastrophic flooding. Plus,
Exxon made more money than God this year.
Gas prices and profiteering hit new record highs.
All of those record highs and more straight ahead from BradBlog.com. I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
Stand by for 6 minutes of independent green news, politics, analysis, and snarky comment.
There was a headline in every website today. Gas now $5 a gallon. And everyone in L.A. went, oh, finally, some good news.
Ain't it the truth? This is your Green News Report. Okay, Desi Doyen, summer barely underway, but already the extreme weather is causing a problem pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, pretty much. Extreme weather is ruining vacations, especially in Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming, which indefinitely closed all entrances and began evacuating some park visitors on Monday after record rainfall caused record flooding and mudslides that washed out roads, at least one bridge, and knocked out power to the park and nearby gateway communities.
So all of Yellowstone National Park?
KCAA Loma Linda.